On. Okay, so in today's segment, we'll be talking about Australia, e-safety commissioner called to testify before U.S. Congress after threatening Americans' free speech. So there it is, reported by Australia ABC. Fortunately, the title doesn't tell why, so you have to go straight down. Short Australia E-Safety Commissioner has been and testified before the U.S. Congressional Committee over concerns she's harming Americans' free speech. Harming. That's a nice way to say threatening. Okay, is Channel 9. E-Safety Commissioner called to testify to U.S. Congress. Okay, this is Sky News. E-Safety Commissioner Inman Grant called to testify before U.S. Congress by Donald Trump ally, aka Jordan, over threats to Americans' free speech. Okay, so this is a letter signed by U.S. House of Representative Committee on Judicial Chairman Jim Jordan, a Republican congressman, close ally Donald Trump, in which he accused the e-safety commissioner of being a zealot for global takedown. And if we go down further, yeah, all right. So nothing beyond that. Anyway, here's the video from Sky News, breaking it down in about 2 minutes. So let's watch it.
Extraordinary letter obtained by Sky News, Julie Inman Grant is accused of being a zealot and directly threatening American speech.
Julie Inman Grant has been given 2 weeks to appear before US Congress to give evidence about how Australia's laws are threatening the free speech of American citizens. A letter from the House of Representatives Committee of the Judiciary, signed by Chairman, Republican Congressman and close Trump ally Jim Jordan, claims the US-born e-safety commissioner's expansive interpretation and enforcement of Australia's Online Safety Act directly threatens American speech. The letter accuses Ms. Inman Grant of being a noted zealot for global takedowns and cites her attempt last year to compel X to remove content globally. X founder Elon Musk called her the censorship commissar. The letter from Congress also accuses the e-safety boss of working with US-based organizations and universities to facilitate and encourage cooperation with foreign censorship regimes. It singles out Stanford University. While Julie Inman Grant is not legally obligated to appear before US Congress, a spokesman for the US House of Representatives Committee told us if there is nothing to hide, then she should voluntarily appear. Ms. Inman Grant has been given a deadline of December 2 to give evidence. An e-safety spokesperson denies the act requires global removal, saying geo-blocking is considered reasonable. There's nothing we're doing that prevents American companies from displaying whatever they want to Americans. Caroline Marcus, Sky News.
Okay, so that is that. Just remember, uh, Inman Grant has a history of censoring free speech. Case I would like to bring in is Billboard Chris. So here it is on ChatGPT. So did Iman Grant threaten the free speech of Billboard Chris here in Australia? And how did that play out? Okay, so what happened? Short answer, yes. So here's a brief description. Chris Elton, known as Billboard Chris, a Canadian activist, he's been vocal on gender ideology and medical treatment for transgender youth. I would say more likely the medical malpractice and the lies from the gender ideology. So what happened? In March 2004, E-Safety Commissioner Gilliman Immigrant issued a removal notice under the Australian Online Safety Act to social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Da, da, da. So, in summary, yes, it says she tried to remove the post and threatened a very large fine, which does raise free speech concern. But in the end, Billboard Chris won, and the rest is history. Now let's put up this here. Copy that link. Now there is evidence that Julia Imandra tried censor non-Australians overseas. How would that play out given she now has to answer US Congress for this? So there is evidence. Alright, ChatGPT, let's see what you got. Really good and timely question. Yes, there is a growing concern. Julia Ingram Grant's role as a safety commissioner would have implications beyond Australia, and the fact she's being called to testify before U.S. Congress shows how serious those concerns are. Here's a breakdown uh, of this could play out based on what we know so far and what the risk and political slash legal consequence might be. So the U.S. requires under the Safety Act, free speech advocates like the Institution of Public Affairs (IPA) argues the OSA gives the Commission very broad powers, ill-defined cons, and weak democratic accountability. So, if she testifies, she'll have to defend how the Online Safety Act works, what powers she actually has, and how she'll justify geo-blocking versus global takedown demands. If she refused, the U.S. community could escalate political pressures, but legally she doesn't legally have to comply. She's not under U.S. jurisdiction in the same way U.S. officials would be. Okay, so the political fallout. Australia side. Okay, so this is the important one. On the Australia side, this incident could spark political debate about how far e-safety commissioner powers should go. If enough pressure builds, it might lead to calls for reform or clear guardrails on extraditional takedown demands. So, in other words, if you refuse, it's going to escalate, and then we're going to have serious conversations about the political ramifications of free speech on non-Australians using Australian laws, which is seriously concerning. Okay, so the bottom line, there is a real political risk for Inman and Australia. Australia is treating this not as just a regulatory matter, but also a political free speech issue. Legally, the Online Safety Act does not clearly empower her to fine non-Australian users just for the use uh, just for speech, unless there are other factors / connection. But she can't demand platforms block or remove content if it's accessible from Australia. What? So if something major happens in Australia, she could use this to remove it. Right now, there are several major things happening in Australia. For example, we have high crime rates in Australia. We got an incompetent um, premier, Jacinda Ardern, who's just letting crime and anti-Semitism going out of control here. And every weekend we have like a pro-Palestine protest. I mean, it's just getting crazy. Anyway, and the third part, which means whether this leads to meaningful legal changes in Australia depends on how much pressure builds, both domestically and internally, and whether the current government is willing to tighten limits on e-safety powers. I mean, maybe you should have thought about that before you gave her uncontrolled, restricted power over free speech. I'm just wondering, is this similar to the UK laws in regards to their online safety, where they arrest people for social media posts? Alright, let's see. In short, there are similarities intended between the Australia and UK online safety regime. Both extends power over this. Both extend state power over speech online. All right, think about that. When you're giving the government more control over your free speech, how the hell Are you going to criticize the government when they're so inept and incompetent? Jeez Louise. It's not like anything bad happened. Oh, wait. So let's just ask ChatGPT this next question. How many people have been arrested in the UK over social media posts? Yeah, sure. Over 12,183 arrests under Section 127 of the Communication Act 2003 and Section 1 of the Malicious Communication Act 1988 for offensive or distressing online message. Yeah, I'm going to say, without a shadow of doubt, free speech is dead in the UK. And in Australia, we're not that different with e-safety commissioner. So we really need to get off our ass and defend free speech before it's too late. Thank God the US is still the very few countries that have free speech. Don't ever take it for granted. Anyway, on out.